Incongruity hypothesis. Hypotheses. A hypothesis about an invisible force that keeps us from being the person we for sure could be. From being. There seems to be a fundamental mechanism of almost otherworldly power that keeps us from the us we could be. A force so strong almost no one can withstand its power. A force that keeps us down. Everyone experiences it. Everyone should be able to relate to it. Otherwise the force wouldn't be working. Let me introduce to you the incongruity hypothesis. In the minds out there are different versions of reality because every entity with plans to interact with its environment, therefore also a single mind, has to create their own reality in order to function in this world. As a result, no single item or object in this world is displayed exactly the same way in two different minds. As a result, there is not a single exact copy of an interpretation of objects stemming from reality out there in the collective of all the minds that exist. To simplify, we only concentrate on human minds. There can even be several versions of the interpretation of the same object in the same mind. This is where the incongruity comes in. It basically is a measurement of the differences in case of these interpretations, or in scientific terms, models are compared and the difference between those two is calculated. Every single discrepancy between two models now automatically creates a drag or pressure for these two models to be identical again calls for the discrepancy to go away. You could almost compare it to the explanation used in physics for inertia, where every action automatically creates a reaction as big as the action itself. But with incongruity, it's somehow different. Every discrepancy creates a force correlated to the size of discrepancy itself, with the goal to eliminate the discrepancy. The bigger the discrepancy gets, the more powerful the force to eliminate this discrepancy becomes as a result of it. We now will take a look into two different scenarios relevant to us. In the first one, we find two versions of a model in one human mind. In the second one, the two versions of the model are found in two different human minds. Furthermore, we only take a look at models of humans in human minds, which leads us already to the first opportunity for us to get even more specific. Let's say there exist two models of us us, meaning two different models of us in our own mind. That of course doesn't mean that we see ourselves as two different or separate entities to begin with, and isn't necessarily the case that the models drift so much apart that the models of us really become separate entities, splitting apart and resulting in dissociative personality disorder. No, here we want to make a much more grounded approach and see the different models which already are in each and every one of us. We often describe them as roles. Everyone is a son or a daughter. People are fathers, husbands, wives, children, students, masters, professors, craftsmen, businessmen, runners, lifters, swimmers. And every one of us already has those different roles. But let's also leave out these roles, which are indeed real, but for the sake of this argument, we want to concentrate only on two models. The two models in our mind we have of ourselves. The two models that, when drifting apart, create the force we should fear, but also use like nothing else in this world. The first one is the things we do. Acting in this world defines us. Deciding amongst billions of possibilities each and every second is the one single thing that defines us each and every single second. What we are is therefore only a matter of what we did. We did in the past. Every single action we take, every single decision we make contributes to this model of ours we have in our own mind. But not only in our own mind, but also grounded in reality. What makes us us and you comes down to a decision tree with an endless amount of nodes. And the thing that defines us from this perspective is just a record of all the decisions we made in the past. Each and every second, we realize one more decision point by acting. By acting, we got to choose one of those infinite possible paths in this decision tree and stamp it into our record. That's the present, the thing that defines us the most. We live in it, have to, because we simply cannot access any other node in this decision tree than the one we right now have to choose. Let's assume we wanted to make the best of our lives. Then the only thing we could do is to choose the single path that we think of as the best one, which of course almost always, not necessarily, really is the best one, but that doesn't really matter, because with all our limitations, we will never be able to accurately judge the decisions we made, because we simply do not know, cannot understand, not comprehend. But what now if you choose something you didn't think was the optimal decision? Didn't think was right? What if you did it again and again? What if you know you should quit smoking, binging, that job, that relationship, that endless consumption of natural resources we cannot allow us to? What if we either knowingly or not knowingly chose something that ain't right, judging only by our own limited perspectives? What if we do it again and again and again and again? Not things we know we couldn't have done anyway, but many more things we almost certainly know to have been doable at the time, in that node. What if we don't choose the things we think are right? A version of us would create itself, a version of us we never can be. We will never be able to be. A version of us that will never fully exist, but will start to haunt us in our dark days. When we are down and don't know how to stand up, fight for, analyze, realize, recognize the mistakes we made. The ones that led us down this shallow path, the ones that were wrong. We would create a monster. It would awaken. This is the second version, the second model. It's not the things we still can choose, not the version of ourselves we could be, but the one we could have been. We could have been if we would have had it together, but we didn't. The us that could have been, but isn't. But we know it could have existed. But we never allowed this version of us to be alive. We killed it. In every single moment we decided not to do this thing we knew was right. We killed it. Every time we took a step back instead of the one ahead. We killed it by being undecisive, by neglecting the reality ahead of us, by neglecting the version of us we already are and not properly facing it. We killed it by not slaying the dragon, but by hiding from it, letting it grow bigger and darker, more powerful. We killed it by running away from it, by not realizing, not recognizing the things that we deep within already knew to be true. Now it is coming back to haunt us, like this dragon. Haunt us forever. The version that is reality becomes a darker and shittier image. With every single decision we did, we knew was wrong. It's the ultimate you, the you that could have been. And it gets bigger, more powerful. As it does, we don't. We get smaller as we hide. And this is where the incongruity hits us, because with every single decision we made, the differences between the versions of us we are, the version of us we are and the version of us we could have been, become bigger. And this is where the force starts to hit us, because there simply should not be difference between the person we could have been and the person that we are. But there are, so the force grows to eliminate it. It is the fear from the dragon we never faced, representing all the problems we ran away from. And we cannot run from it, hide from it, because with every decision we make, this version also changes. It changes as we do, but it always changes for the better. We for the worse. Become smarter, healthier, more skilled as we become the opposite. So the force, the gap, the incongruity becomes bigger and bigger, but we will never be able to bring those two together again, simply because we cannot. It is not within the realm of possibility. So we do something else instead. Create another version to unify them, simply By bringing them together, although they cannot be brought together, we take the average of the versions of us in us we have and create a third version, a proposal that will never really be real, but has to exist, because otherwise the dragon taunts us. The dragon that is the things we could have been, but never will be. But never within this reality again will be. We create a pseudo version. When we begin to deny that this other us ever could have been, we begin to justify the things we did, although we know now and knew back then that they weren't. We begin to deny the pure existence of the second version of us, and by creating the third one, seemingly eliminate the differences between those two. We do this simply to not break down under the irresponsibility of our own misguided us. We could do nothing anymore under the ever-increasing weight of doing the right thing, realizing the right paths in front of us. We accept that we are what we are. We accept that we did wrong, realize that there still is hope out there, as long as we right now try to find the best path to realize. We now know that we, as we think, act, exist, will always be the shittier version of us. The version that exists because we didn't do things differently. The version we will always be stuck with. Because we, as we think, act, exist by definition, can never be the us we could have been. So the third version is a mixture between those two, a deadly one, because accepting the now is one step, one right one, but doesn't mean anything if we cannot make the next one also right. If we accept, we reset. We accept the knowingly that the knowingly can, that there knowingly can and will never be the version of ourselves we could have been. So we reset right now, in the single moment. Try to make the best decisions we possibly can right now. Try our best. But after a while, even if we from that point in time on really made every single decision right, the malevolence of the third version, the pseudo version, starts to kick in. Because we never have been the good version of ourselves. We always have been the shitty one. Simply, who we are is not what we could have been, because we simply cannot change the wrong decisions in our decision tree. We simply cannot turn back in time. We simply cannot turn back the time. So what we think of ourselves comes back to haunt us. Because what it comes down to is pretending. Pretending to be the version we know we never have been. Doing everything right from now on creates a problem. Because we simply are not the things we did the last 2, 3, 30 decisions ago. But what we really are, and therefore what we think we are, is the third version. We simply will never think of us as the good version, the version that could have been, even if we for the last few decisions really were. The force begins to pull us back, drags us down, because with every right decision we make, the discrepancy between version 1 and version 2 becomes bigger and bigger. The force wants to eliminate the discrepancy, so with every right decision we make, the drag to make a bad one becomes bigger and bigger. The power we would need to withstand that force increases. With every right decision we make, increases, grows, until we break. We break because we never have been the things we could have been before, and therefore simply do not think of ourselves as that. We truly believe, based on reality, that we are not that person, not the good version. So the force comes, pulls us down, pulls us back, drags us down again, and we start to make bad decisions again, because we simply cannot withstand the force. Because the force that stems from all the incongruity increases, the more our actions deviate from the average of all the decisions we made, and the bigger the differences in the quality of our decisions ranked from good to bad, the bigger the force gets. So we simply have no other option but to go on, to stay who we have been. We cannot be better, at least not for long. The more time we spend on that right path, the bigger the force that pulls us back gets. The force begins to pull us back, drags us down again, until we find ourselves back at how things used to be. Back at the same or another shitty job. back at drinking, binging, shouting, fighting, hitting again, 'cause we always have been this way. And there is nothing to change that matter. But it does matter. We do matter. We can fight it. Choose to choose the right path again and again. Be pulled back again. Stand up again. Wrong things again. But we can choose. And that's everything that matters.